Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in South Africa to attend the 20th G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg. Now, this is the first ever G20 meeting to be held in Africa. Under South Africa's presidency, the theme this year is solidarity, equality and sustainability. The Prime Minister was welcomed by the Indian diaspora with cultural performances from various parts of the country. Now, PM Modi held talks with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on the sidelines of the G20 Summit. The talk was emphasized on bilateral ties which exist between the two countries. We are now joined by Aditya Rajkal, Senior Executive Editor, to give us more details. Over to you.
The G20 Summit in Johannesburg, South Africa has officially begun. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also reached Johannesburg at the venue of the G20 in South Africa. There has been a raising controversy on this G20 itself, with the United States President Donald Trump deciding to boycott the G20. In fact, no senior level participation from the United States this time around at the G20. Only the ambassador of United States will be attending the handing over ceremony, because next year the G20 is going to be held in Florida, United States, and there will be a baton that will be handed over from South Africa to the United States. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi arriving there, in fact, he arrived at Johannesburg yesterday, where he of course discussed in detail with the Australian Prime Minister, the bilateral relations. That was the first big meeting that took place, but also the Prime Minister receiving a rousing welcome from the Indian diaspora. Of course, Indian Prime Minister will be speaking in all three sessions at the G20 on climate change and of course the climate action plan of India, India's contribution to build in a consensus on fighting climate change. Apart from that, also bringing in equality from digital public infrastructure to, in fact, the artificial intelligence, how there needs to be equality, there need to be reasonable regulations and also ethics that need to be kept in mind. But the biggest of all, India's push for the global south. India has emerged as the voice of the global south, as the leader of the global south, and that is predominant over the last many years. In fact, through the pandemic, India had helped several countries in the global south and elsewhere, more than 100 countries being helped. And in the recent times, with the raging Russia-Ukraine war and the recent ceasefire being achieved between Israel and Hamas, India's push will be for dialogue and diplomacy, for paving the way forward. So this time G20 would be very interesting. Whether or not there will be a consensus needs to be seen, because top leaders of Russia, US and China are not attending. So the question really is that, is this really a symbolic exercise? Apart from the G20, there will be several bilateral meetings that Prime Minister Modi will be attending. And after that, there will be an IPSA meeting as well between Brazil, South Africa and India. Remember, India is the chair of the IPSA this time around. So packed two-day diplomacy schedule. India's power push really, India's diplomacy really emerging stronger at the G20. We'll have to wait and watch for the final leaders' declaration that really comes out from South Africa, and what is the meat of the substance of that declaration.